God in Us, given by Gabriele, the prophetess and emissary of God in our time. Dear reader, particularly during the present time, the topic God in Us is a provocation for many people. When you read and hear in the media all that is going on in this world, the word God recedes more and more into the background, not to mention God in Us. We hear about the disasters in this world and how people act, how they treat those like them, and how they live in animosity with those who don't share their basic attitudes. The earth with its animals and plants is suffering under the fraudulent label Christian and under the egoism of the exploiters. Each one has his own argument for plundering the earth, for torturing and killing the animals and destroying nature. All this certainly has nothing to do with God and with Jesus, the Christ. And now someone comes along and claims, God in Us. Recently, very many people are leaving the church institutions. We hear more and more about the debaucheries of the caste of priests, about the hypocrisy, about the lies, and not lastly, about the countless perversions and excesses that we don't even want to call by name, unless the talk is about the atrocities and dregs of humankind. The number of people leaving the church is increasing. Many are disappointed by their church, in which they believed and where they felt at home, in order to find God. Others shake their heads and say, there is no God. If there were one, where is he then? The church leaders have lost their credibility and the political parties drivel about the common good and social services. When we look deeper, we see it's mostly about dividends and one's own well-being. However, one calls oneself Christian. As long as the government holds the stirrup for the caste of priests, subsidizing it in Germany with about 20 billion euros annually, not much will change because the denominational stirrup holder and the denominational rider controlling the reins of the horse don't feel it is at all necessary to change their conduct toward God and their fellow people. Besides, churches and cathedrals are restored with millions and millions that ultimately have to be raised by the state, that is, by us, the citizens. And that, even though in the priest's Bible, which the caste of priests insists on and literally sells to its faithful as the absolute truth, we can essentially read, God who created the world and everything in it, He, the Lord over heaven and earth, does not live in temples made by human hands. We citizens are burdened with taxes and are fleeced more and more. What did Jesus the Christ say? All who take up the sword will perish by the sword. This world demonstrates what human beings are like. War, murder, manslaughter, hunger, suffering, illness, epidemics, animal torture without end. And then one asks, where is God? And still another says, I believed the fairy tale about God for a while, but I don't believe it anymore. There is no God. What should God do with the all-too-human pile of shards? Should he smash it completely? God doesn't need to do that. We're already doing it. For we have made this world and the earth into what it is, and not God. Dear fellow people, many of you are a good analyst. May I ask a good analyst, and all those who are now shaking their head, do you have herd instincts, and are you a yes man? Are you a person who believes what people lead others to believe, even when this and that one talks about God? Are you the herd animal that needs a church of stone with tradition, denomination, and thus dogmatic priests? Or are you a free spirit who has learned to weigh and measure things and doesn't believe everyone who wants to convince you of something, be it the promise that God would be here or there, or even that the chaos of this world is the mystery of God? I am only a human being, just as we are all human beings. Anyone who promises something to someone should also be able to prove it. No person can promise another that he will find God through his tips and directions. I can't do that either. God cannot be found here and there. God is the life in us, in each one of us. According to our inner predisposition, we are social people. No one should be alone, for it is said, it is not good that man should be alone. And not to run after another person means to find God in oneself, because only from this does a genuine, true sense of community develop. And so, to find God means to first find yourself, in awareness of what Jesus, the Christ, taught the people. Among other things, he taught us, "I, Christ, am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." This also applies to me. I do not bind myself to any human being, not even when he promises me many things and wants to guide me here and there to find God. Even when a person has found God in his innermost being, he cannot prove this to anyone else. A good role model can be an indication, but not proof. Consequently, my words are not binding. They are based on the teachings of Jesus, the Christ, and particularly on his promise, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." My concern was and is to find God myself. I was able to find him in myself because I did not bind myself to any person, but oriented myself to the teachings of Jesus, and I still do this. In the great work of Revelation, "This is my word," we read that Jesus of Nazareth was already confronted by his contemporaries with questions about God. There it says, "And some who were full of doubt came to Jesus, saying, 'You told us that our life and being are from God, but we have never seen God, nor do we know of any God. Can you show us the one whom you call the Father and the only God? We do not know whether there is a God.' Jesus answered them, saying, 'Hear this parable about the fishes. The fishes of a river spoke with one another and said, "They tell us that our life and being comes from water, but we have never seen water. We do not know what it is." Then some of them, who were wiser than the others, said, "We have heard that a wise and learned fish who knows all things lives in the sea. Let us go to him and ask him to show us the water." And so, some of them set out to search for the great and wise fish, and they finally came to the sea where the fish lived, and they asked him. And when he heard them, he said to them, "Oh, you foolish fish, that you do not think. Yet wise are the few of you who seek. You live and move in water and have your existence in the water. You have come from the water, and you will return to the water. You live in the water, but you do not know it. In the same way, you live in God, and yet you ask me, 'Show us God.' God is in all things, and everything is in God." As already mentioned, the inner predisposition of a human being is communality, for as it is said, "It is not good that man is alone." However, if we link with the One, who in his teachings made and makes us aware again and again that he is the way, the truth, and the life, Christ, and if we follow his teachings step by step, then we find our way to those people who think and live similarly. But we should not bind ourselves to them either. If we deal with the statement "God in us," the objection might come up, "What a statement! That's presumptuous when you look at present-day society." But truthfully, it is written in many priests' Bibles, God does not dwell in houses made with human hands. That brings up the question, where then does God live, if not in stone churches? Many people believe that a soul lives in them. We could philosophize about whether this is true or not. But let us assume as fact that we are vivified by a finer material body, which is not from this world. Let us assume that deep in the very basis of our soul, in this finer substance, is the life, the breath of life, God, whom we experience in our breathing. We should not see the fact of life as exclusively limited to the earthly shell, the human being, who at some point exhales and no longer brings his breath back again by inhaling. Life is eternity, and we call eternity God, or the eternal, or eternal existence, or eternal being. Just think of nature. Spring brings more light, more sun, and the part of the earth that has turned toward the sun comes to life again. Nature turns green and starts to blossom. And how is it with us? If we turn toward the light, God in us, our soul will become more light-filled. We will live more consciously. We become freer and happier. We become honest, open, and straight, forward, and just toward our fellow people, because we have found ourselves in God, the life, and we are true to ourselves. Let us go back to our topic. God in us, God in you,